Tonight, we are back with a home league mock. All of your fantasy football home leagues are beginning to draft soon. We're here to help you get a head start on your friends, on your family. Bring home the bragging rights this year. Sit down, strap in, because tonight we are mocking with the stars. Welcome back to Mocking with the Stars here on Club Fantasy FFL. Your co-host Chris B is now at FF Chris B over there on Twitter. And of course, you can hit me up at FantasyJ77. Star of the night.
Big one.
This Susan Curran. You can find her on Twitter at SKA Curran, CURRAN. But more importantly, over on IG, which is where I found her, at Gridiron _Goddess, and an absolute must follow. Follow. Welcome to Mocking with the Stars. Miss Susan, how are you tonight?
I'm great. I'm super happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
100%. What are your must-have settings in a redraft matchup?
I think the biggest thing is multiple flex positions. I run a home league redraft for a neighborhood, and we have 3 flex because those flex positions are really where you prove your mettle when you have to be able to pick who you're going to put in there. So that and PPR, specifically for those home leagues, there's nothing like the serotonin boost from seeing a score of like 25 points or something versus this half-point PPR scoring. So it just, when your other leagues, you're like, oh, 12. And you're like, wait a minute, but this is 20 over here. It's nice to have the full there.
100%. Well, you chose the 5 spot for tonight's draft. Is that your favorite spot, or do you have a particularly a favorite spot, and why?
I like to be in the middle. So 5, 6, 7, mostly because the evenness of making those picks, right? You pay attention to the ADP. The ADP is more helpful in that situation when you're drafting from the middle. And I just waiting 24 picks to go when you're on the ends is so frustrating. And so I chose the 5 because that gets you closer to where if you want to go hero RB or like elite wide receiver, then you're set up to do that. And you can really build your roster around one of those guys.
Yeah, I'm about to get this particular mock started up, but one more question before we actually start the mock, and I'll start with you, Chris. 1 week of the preseason is in the books. What was your biggest takeaway from the first week? You know, I understand that, the starters didn't play a ton. Some teams didn't even start their starters. And then the teams that did start their starters, now we have the worst time in fantasy, which is what you and I were talking about beforehand. And now we're just adding injuries to, insult.
Yeah, it's brutal. Yeah.
So what was your biggest takeaway? And as soon as you're done, Susan, you can go ahead with that as well.
Okay.
CJ Stroud. I mean, I didn't think it was possible for him to take a step forward, but in the limited role that we got to see him in this past week, CJ Stroud looked great in his limited opportunity. We saw the touchdown with Tank Dell. So that's a guy who maybe we talked about as someone who maybe wasn't weren't worth picking at the top end of your drafts in two QB leagues. But if you're picking him as a top 7 quarterback, seeing what we've seen in just that small sample size of this past weekend, CJ Stroud might fight for a top 5, top 3 quarterback finish this year. And of course, the rookie quarterbacks look special. Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Joe Milton, all looked great.
Yeah.
My biggest takeaway is that Jerry Jones is an idiot.
Yeah.
Wait. After 90 years of life, you're just now figuring this out.
That's the takeaway of every preseason.
I mean, it just every freaking season, the off season and preseason, he does something. And so I live in the Dallas Metroplex, so I get all of that news.
Connect.
And it's just like, what are you doing? What are you doing, Jerry?
You're gonna lose your best player.
Seriously. I think it's a good reminder though that preseason is not super indicative for regular season football. And it, especially for newer players, which is who I cater to, like that's my audience, is new fantasy football players. You can get caught up in the hype and the coach speak and all that kind of stuff. But then once you actually see it and you're like, oh, wait, the people who I'm drafting are not really playing. So it's a good reminder for people who need it that like, oh yeah, we got to wait, pay attention, but don't like take everything absolutely to heart. So.
Yeah, I'll bring it up tonight. A couple coach speaks that really either I thought was funny or that I think is maybe some relevancy to it, and we'll discuss a little bit of it as we go through the night. I'll go ahead and get this draft board started, and we'll get us on screen here with the draft starting off with Vince. They're down in Australia.
I think we know who Vince is taking, Gator.
Yeah, he's probably going to end up taking, like, I don't know,
Bijan.
Tyreek. Yeah, Tyreek Hill maybe this time. I don't know. He's going Bijan. Oh, he went.
He switched it up.
Okay.
Oh, not CMC.
I don't hate it, and here's why. Potential first-round picks right now. Christian McCaffrey, injured with a calf injury. CeeDee Lamb, holding out. Jamar Chase, holding in. Puka Nacua, knee injury. And then the bombshell that happened about an hour ago, Jahmyr Gibbs, hamstring.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are we going to see because of this news, or now we're going to see the first round just basically flipped on its head, Susan?
I don't know. I mean, people have dealt with injury scares before, and like with CMC, you have to take the risk because of who he is. If you're gonna have that number one player, you almost just have to do it and be like, okay.
Yep, and he gets left there for me at 3, and I'm just like, I don't want to pull the trigger. But how do you not pull the trigger? It's
right, exactly.
The calf injury for McCaffrey doesn't scare me too much. He's an older player. They're not going to push him to play too much more in the preseason. So not a guy I'm looking to fade all that much.
Yeah, the other side of that coin too is we know he's gonna, he's got the receiving chops again in a full PPR. If you're gonna go hero RB in any form, you want that receiving chop.
Especially if they get rid of a player like Brandon Ayuk. If they do end up trading Brandon Ayuk for the possibility of maybe another wide receiver who's not as good, what does that do for Christian McCaffrey's potential production? We're already projecting him to see a lion's share of the workload. What does Brandon Ayuk leaving do to that as well? Does it give him more? Does his efficiency take more of a hit because defenses are maybe not focused on the pass game as much? They're more focused on the run game. So it's an interesting dynamic for that domino to fall and to see how it impacts the fantasy landscape.
Well, and I heard a stat recently, and I think it was on the Fantasy Footballers. I don't remember, but it talked about vacated targets. They don't just go to whatever the wide receiver is that comes in. Yeah. Typically, it is the running back who gets a larger share of those vacated targets than they had previously. When you have a player like Christian McCaffrey, why wouldn't you use him that way? Rather than trust the rookie in Pearsall or someone who's coming in so late to the season at this point. I mean, we're coming into preseason week 2. Someone's going to have to learn an offense. So it would make more sense for those targets to funnel to him.
Yep. I love that.
Yeah, I wonder, just going off of what you just said there, where the vacated targets funnel, how, I don't know what the percentage is, but funnel towards the running back. I wonder if we will kind of see that in Buffalo as well, with the vacated targets of, Stephon Diggs. We all assume that, yes, it's going to be Kincaid. Yes, it's going to be Shakir. Yes, it's going to be, whoever the next man up is. But is there going to be that opportunity for a James Cook to, get that receiving boost?
Mm-hmm.
Well, at the end of the season last year, they started turning him into that running back one. Mm-hmm. You saw that transition. So after a full off season with, I'm totally blanking on who the new OC is. But after a full off season of work and working him in, I can't imagine that it's going to be less than what we saw at the end of the season.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of his name right now too. He was the LSU.
Is it coach. Joe Brady?
Joe Brady.
Joe Brady. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point you brought up right there. About the way that the vacated targets are going to be distributed on an average. So I think that's very interesting. First round goes like this: Amon-Ra St. Brown, Bijan Robinson, Christian McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill, Breece Hall, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, AJ Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley. No true surprise right here to me, other than the Gibbs here. And that, of course, that was an auto. But no real surprise here with the scoring settings being PPR, no tight end premium. Anything stand out to either one of you?
I'm still a little surprised that it's half and half. Previously, I mean, we went through your running back, and then there was that switch where everybody was drafting first round wide receivers. And now I think we're shifting back to the middle, and players are taking who they think is going to carry them, whether they think that's the wide receiver one on some team, or you're going for these guys who are going to be the workhorse backs rather than the committee guys.
Yeah, I think that's a you're seeing more of the hero RB than we saw last year of zero RB.
Right. Which is my plan for tonight.
Yeah, I kind of, depending on where you draft and who falls to you, like, again, CMC for me, Breece Hall for you, it kind of puts us in that position. Like, okay, well.
Except I was going to do that, but I don't know that I want who's taking these wide receivers here as my first wide receiver when Derrick Henry is still on the board.
You should not talk out loud when I'm sitting right here. No, don't do that to me. I was already looking at Derrick. I'm going to get him back. I've been so high on him this year. Oh my Lord.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You are good. I think she has been reading my mind this whole thing already, because just that Derrick Henry pick just put me on tilt, I think.
And we're already in round 2.
It's hard when you're looking at the board, right? And so the wide receivers who is top of this board is Devontae Adams, Chris Olave, Brandon Ayuk. They're question marks at this point. Quarterback questions for Adams. I mean, Adams is Adams. He's going to get his targets, but is it going to be that elite wide receiver numbers? Olave, we haven't quite seen it yet. For some reason, he and Derek Carr are not friends. I don't know. And who knows where Ayuk's playing. So when you have the elite running back in Derrick Henry, who is going to score touchdowns, I don't know how you leave him on the board for one of those wide receivers.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm right there with you, and I'm in the exact same position now. So I'm looking at it going, okay, I and that was going to be a question later on. Are we overvaluing Devontae Adams in this position? Yes, we all think he is QB proof, but I mean, how QB proof is he? And we'll find out this year. Right. I just don't know at the value that, or the spot that we're taking him, it seems to be quite expensive.
Yep.
Yeah, I think last year he was ended up as the overall wide receiver 17 in fantasy points per game when he came down to it. So picking him as a top 10 guy, top 12 guy. Again, I was in the same boat with my second pick. I was looking at the wide receivers there. I was like, none of these guys make me feel like I should be taking them above a Derrick Henry. I'm always going to be high on ETN from the Jags, even though there is the Bigsby rumblings again this offseason. But none of the wide receivers on the board had me overly confident. Like I was really hoping for Drake London there in that second round. He got picked just before my pick. That one hurt quite a bit. But if Drake London was probably the only one left on the board that I was really considering, because the news out of Los Angeles with Puka Nacua and now Cooper Kupp has taken over that role or taken back that role as the wide receiver one for the Rams, and the value you can get Cooper Kupp at over what you're paying for Puka Nacua. I mean, I'd rather have Cooper Kupp in the third or fourth round over Puka Nacua in the early second. I don't know where you're at, Susan.
I agree. I'm worried that people are drafting him at his ceiling.
Absolutely.
And you're setting yourself up to be disappointed with how high he's being drafted. So that's just it's not that he can't do it or won't do it. It's that you get the scaredness of just wondering, okay, every game you're worried about him. I would rather have a player that I'm not going to worry about. Oh, dang, I was going to take Collins. I didn't think that he was going to take him with already having two.
Now you know how it feels after you snipe Gator, huh?
Yeah. Oh, well, as you are on the clock here, I want to run through some of the comments. I've not neglected them. I've been keeping an eye on them. We got a good bit of comments. Appreciate everybody in the comments that's watching. Make sure you hit that thumbs up. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel as well. We had Zion jump in real early. First one here, give me some cake. So, of course, I had to give him his cake. We had Dorte jumped in. Equinox is in the house. Vince, of course, drafting from the 1-1. I am the best drafter. I will take the first place trophy now, please. That was even before he took Amon-Ra St. Brown. Jerry jumped in. We have Wendy in the house saying, hey, Susan. Hello.
Hey, Wendy.
Albert is in the house. And then, of course, Wendy jumps back in and says, hey, everybody. Hey, all. Vince. Colin Johnson, the future MVP. Okay, Vince, we've had this discussion too many times.
I don't even know who that is.
Colin Johnson, the Bears
wide
receiver. No, he's the Bears wide receiver.
Okay.
Curly Croissant says, I'm getting Worthy and Chuba for Montgomery. So getting Xavier Worthy, Chuba Hubbard for David Montgomery. Should he accept?
What are the settings for
this? I think this is
no context in a vacuum. I probably take that with we talked about the Jonathan Brooks news at the top of the show there, or just behind the scenes.
Yeah, he's not ready.
Yeah, he should be ready between week 4 and maybe week 5. So potentially we see him maybe week 6, week 5. So Chuba can give you some potential production there for those early weeks. And then we've seen the reports coming out of Kansas City with Xavier Worthy. If it's a dynasty league, I'm smashing accept on that one with David Montgomery aging out of the league in the next 1 or 2 years.
Especially if you're not contending.
Yep.
I mean, if you're not contending, that's a smash accept.
Yeah, I believe that if it's a dynasty, it's a smash accept right away just because of Worthy and the potential that Worthy has. We Hollywood Brown's down right now, going to miss 4 to 6 weeks. Well, that means he's going to miss the first part, whatever it is, 2, possibly 3 games of the start of the season. He's going to have that opportunity to build that rapport with Patrick Mahomes. Chuba is what Chuba is, just that steady Eddie kind of, he's not going to give you a spike week, but he's not going to give you a 0 either. He's going to give you that probably.
He's got a decent floor.
Yeah, he's going to give you the full, and there's, so yeah, I think I'm accepting that deal, especially if it's dynasty. That Equinox is jumping in here. I believe he is. Yeah, he's mocking with us at the 2 spot. Adam Peterson is in here. Going back to my Cook question or my Cook response there about him being able to get some of those vacated targets. Cook is going to feast. J-Far drafting from the 4 spot, saying Keon Coleman. Yeah, the problem with Keon Coleman, and we saw it at the beginning of the game the other night. I believe it was 17 routes run. He ran all 17 routes and got 0 targets from Josh Allen.
Looks great in camp, though.
Hey, every single day he makes a spectacular catch.
And he's super fun personality-wise. So
yes. Hey, he's going to be
he's
great
fun
media.
to watch.
He's great media. He's great for the media.
Yeah.
Angie jumping in. Sup, fantasy football friends just popping in to say hello.
Hey, Angie.
From her flight home from Ohio. Just go ahead and rub it in. Just rub it in.
I know. I didn't get to go to Expo either this year.
Bummer.
Red Harmon jumping in here saying Javonte or Pollard. I think this is pretty easy Javonte for me.
Oh, that's funny. I would take Pollard.
I'm going Pollard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's fine. Everybody can be wrong, and y'all are wrong.
I don't know.
Flip that
Pollard
for 3 months from now.
He's not Peyton's guy. I mean, Javonte's not Peyton's guy. So
yeah, I think he's still going to be all right out there. Angie said Wendy already misses Wendy, and Wendy says she knows Angie already misses her. Yes, we do need Derrick Henry have a season of his life, Wendy.
I also agree, Wendy, that the guest should never get sniped. So J-Far.
Wait a minute. Whoa.
That's
You have not,
you.
Susan, you haven't watched how these shows go. So it started a few weeks back. Wendy, you know this because it was on Wendy's show, where she had Julia and she had Joey Wright was in the comments. And for every time somebody sniped Julia, he donated $5 to Fantasy Cares.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which turned into
turned
into like 5 people matching everything. Turned out to like $250, something like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's what we do on these shows. Is it's all about sniping and trying to have fun with it. So the guest is absolutely supposed to get sniped.
Well, there's no money in it tonight, so maybe not.
Don't snipe.
Fair. I read Gibbs is injured. Yeah, he's got a hamstring. Don't know how severe it is. Adam Schefter reported that about hour and a half ago, something like that. So I think we're just about caught up. 100% route participation does matter. Sure. If you're not getting any targets, that matters too.
Yeah. Some player had like, gosh, somebody was talking about this cardio. They're just out there doing cardio.
Yep.
It doesn't matter.
100%. Round 2 goes Kyron Williams, Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr., Drake London, Travis Etienne, Puka Nacua, Devon A-Chan, Derrick Henry, Chris Olave, Sam Laporta, Mike Evans, Devontae Adams. Still no big surprise for either one of you here with the first 2 rounds?
Your pick of Laporta this high and a non-premium, non-tight end premium. But I mean, he was so good last year. I get it. If that's what you're wanting.
Yeah, I think that the thought process there for me was I was hoping that Mike Evans would come back around. But I didn't want to touch Devontae Adams. I didn't want to go Brandon Ayuk there. So I was kind of just I was looking for volume. And I think he's going to get a good bit of volume. He got it last year. I think he's going to get the volume again this year, maybe add a couple more touchdowns as well. And in a PPR, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Two
so
rounds,
I don't know that I've.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh,
go ahead,
sorry. I was just going to say I'm taking DJ Moore here. I don't know that I've ever started a build like this. 2 running backs, a tight end, and then getting my first wide receiver. So I'm flying blind a little bit on this draft because this is
what is your usual go-to strategy? How do you usually start your drafts?
I normally start wide receiver.
Okay.
And then I'll usually go wide receiver, and then get my running back.
Yeah.
And we'll punt tight end.
Yeah.
Because it's totally doable in these redraft leagues. But, it's a mock draft. That's what these are for, right?
Yeah. You got to see how your running back teams would shake out if you did decide.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. But I don't mind the double wide receiver because of how much kind of the running back position has been pushed down the board over the, like we talked about at the top there, over the past couple of years, and how much more heavy the wide receiver these drafts have become. So being able to get a guy like a Rachaad White, Ken Walker, James Cook, or Joe Mixon in Houston this year, if you start 3 wide receivers or 2 wide receivers and an elite tight end, that might be the way to do it this year.
Scampers popping in here. YouTube notification failed. Good evening, beautiful people. Bayou Bengal jumping in, saying hello to everybody. We got our boy Drew 3MR in here. MVS knows all about the all cardio team. Yes, he does. Yes.
MVS and Gabe Davis are on the all cardio all-star team. Absolutely.
Whoa, wait a minute. Gabe Davis caught a bunch of, I say bunch of balls. He actually got involved.
Got a bunch of balls in one game, man.
No, it wasn't even a full game.
The all cardio all Americans, right there.
Yeah, they were short. They weren't all deep balls. So that was.
Gator, I gotta ask you, not to go really off topic, but I know you're the host, and I want to ask you a question. What's your take on Brian Thomas Jr.? He had a pretty good preseason week.
It's one game, Chris. Simmer down. It's one game. Calm down.
I had to touch on that one. Speaking of rookies, Susan, when do you start factoring them into your pre-draft rankings or anything like that? Is it right after the draft, or is it now when we get to kind of see where the situation in the offense unfolds?
More now. I like to see how training camp shakes out. Mm-hmm. I mean, because you have to be able to, one, there's guys who are currently injured, right? So, I mean, Ricky Pearsall, like the darling of the draft after getting placed with the 49ers, still dealing with that injury. But with the Ayuk news, that's going to drive him up. So honestly, the longer I can wait before I start working them in to my thought process, the better. I took Richardson there. That's right at his ADP. So I thought, you know what, I'm in the middle. I need a QB. Let's go for it with the clear rushing upside there. I would have taken Jackson if he was still at that point, if he was still on the board because of my Mark Andrews pick, which JFar's trying to trash talk over there. But he is the number 1 target in the Baltimore offense. It's not going to be Zay Flowers. It's Mark Andrews. So I think going him in the 3rd, if you're going to get him, is where I think that's where you're going to have to get him if you want him.
Yeah, Susan, you will realize our chat likes to pick on us. I mean, they're not only drafting with us, they're in the chat, and they'll just pick at us if we say something negative about anybody's team.
That's fine. As long as they can handle me giving it back. Me just saying he's wrong.
That's right. Well, as Chris was asking that question, you made the Richardson pick, and I wanted to jump in there and go, Chris, she just picked the rookie right there. She just picked the rookie in the 5th round.
Yeah.
He's not a rookie, Gator. Come on.
I mean, come on.
It's a scary rookie pick, though, with the way that he runs and the way he sacrifices himself for every yard. I mean, we saw it last season. So
I think there was a point just the other night, where he had an opportunity to deliver the hit, and it was right in front of Steichen, and he stepped out of bounds. And I think Steichen was so happy that he did step out of bounds and not take or deliver the hit. He was like, "Okay, come on, you're done for the night. You're done for the night. You did a good job.
Yeah.
Good.
Let's get you out of here. Let's go."
That's right.
Yeah. Right. One of my favorite strategies when I do get the opportunity to draft a player like Anthony Richardson, and my guy Drew Scott really likes to touch on it, is following that up a little bit later. I don't know how much more later you can get this guy with the preseason that he just had, the week 1, but following up a little bit later with a player like Jaden Daniels, who kind of brings you that rushing upside. If you can tie Anthony Richardson in with Jaden Daniels a little bit later down your draft board because we know of the potential of injury with Anthony Richardson. I think he came out. I think he missed at least one drive in every game last year. You're kind of setting yourself up with a little bit of insurance, so you're not scraping the waiver wire for a guy that, you know, doesn't bring you that rushing upside like Anthony Richardson or Jaden Daniels is going to give you. I don't hate the Anthony Richardson pick at all. Everything that we saw last year and everything that we're seeing, continue to see this year is just upside central for that quarterback. So I love the Anthony Richardson pick.
Do you guys get nervous how high Harrison Jr. is going?
No, I don't.
Since we just have never seen it. I mean, obviously he's the talent that he is, but it's a big question mark right now.
Yep.
I think it goes back to the statement you made earlier. I mean, you're getting him here at 2-3 in this particular draft. I've seen him go, you know, at 111 in some. So I almost feel like you're drafting him almost at his ceiling right now, and to put that much draft capital into a rookie, albeit, you know, generational talent, whatever. He's still a rookie, and that's a lot of draft capital to put into a rookie in a redraft league. To me, I'm not willing to pay that price.
I don't know, man. He's tied to an elite quarterback. We know Kyler Murray can move the ball. We know Kyler Murray can be efficient as a passer, as a runner. And with that running ability, that's why I like a player like Marvin Harrison Jr., especially when it comes to scoring touchdowns. We saw him at Ohio State be dominant in the end zone. If he can be that guy for Kyler Murray, be that dominant wide receiver that we know that Marvin Harrison can be, give me a 850 to 900 yard season and the possibility of 6 to 8 touchdowns. I mean, I'm going to take that. That might be a little high considering that output where we are taking them. But if that's the bottom end of the projection for me, I'll take Marvin Harrison all day over a guy like, maybe Chris Olave, Mike Evans, who I'm projecting to have a little bit of a down year considering the shift in the offensive philosophy there in Tampa Bay. So give me Marvin Harrison all day over some of these guys that are going after him.
Well, let me ask you this. You just brought up what you hope he can hit in that 900, and how many touchdowns did you say?
If I had to put a real projection on his touchdowns, I would go 6.5.
Okay. So let me throw this number at you, and I just throw this out there. This is a player, 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns, and this player went almost 2 full rounds after him, and that's DK Metcalf.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
With a lesser running quarterback in Geno Smith.
Correct. But is that the absolute ceiling for DK Metcalf? Because my projection for Marvin Harrison isn't the ceiling. That's not where I could see Marvin Harrison reach. She get you again?
Yes, she got me.
Get Christian Kirk.
Yeah, she did.
I consider Christian Kirk with the Higgins pick there.
He's a great option for a wide receiver too.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, going back to the conversation we were having earlier, vacated targets with Calvin Ridley, ETN's still there. Yes, you still have Evan Ingram. They added Gabe Davis. They added Brian Thomas Jr. But Christian Kirk has been just that consistent. He's going to go just every week. It seems like he's getting the ball consistently, and it's going to pay off. You're getting him at wide receiver 2 prices here. Yes, absolutely. Go get him. And in the 6th round, somebody that is, I don't even know where his ADP is right now, but it's absurdly too low for a guy that is going to be the wide receiver 1 on his team.
Right now, I'm looking at Fantasy Pros. He's the wide receiver 27.
So you got him as a wide receiver 3.
Yeah. And Ingram's not a guy for me. I believe Colby Conway dropped the stat where when Christian Kirk was healthy, Evan Ingram saw no snaps in the slot. So Christian Kirk is the guy for the Jaguars when it comes to slot usage for their passing game.
And it's at 70 overall for Kirk. And you saw, I got to make this pick, but you saw the Jags offense just function better when he was on the field.
Absolutely.
Yep. I just want to throw this at you, Chris, there. Josh is saying 11 and 8 for DK is not his ceiling. He's hit 10 plus twice.
Okay, but he's hit
absolutely
10 TDs twice with who at quarterback, though?
Yeah, that's the thing. Is he's done it with nobody at quarterback, with it being Gino.
Well, Russell Wilson is not a nobody. Right?
Okay, I guess you got your answer, right? I mean, maybe it wasn't back then, but for this year in a redraft, are you taking Marvin Harrison over the guy that DK really? That's not true. That you can't honestly say that out loud, can you?
Yeah, I can. I take Marvin Harrison over DK Metcalf, absolutely.
Okay. We shall see at the end of the year. DK.
Who do you think the better quarterback is?
Kyler Murray or Geno Smith? Kyler Murray.
Yeah, it's Kyler Murray.
I think that plays into the decision too.
No, absolutely, but that's the point. Is with Geno, you still had an 1,100 yard and 8 touchdowns last year.
Yeah,
and that was with Tyler Lockett and being a guy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But offensive scheme changes now. So how much does that?
They got an
offense the offense funnel
that's going to throw the ball 10 times more a game.
No, I mean, I get what Josh is saying there. The ceiling for DK Metcalf can be 1,300 yards, 10 plus CDs, but can that be with Geno Smith at quarterback? I'd rather gamble on Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. over Geno Smith and DK Metcalf.
And I just use DK as an example, right? I wasn't saying necessarily DK because DK was 7. There's 7 or 8 wide receivers that went between Marvin Harrison and DK. And you could probably put any one of those up there and compare the numbers. But again, going back to the original thing, and I think Susan and I agreed on, at cost, that is just too expensive for a rookie.
Yeah.
But you like you like shiny new toys and things like that, Chris. You're Canadian. I get it.
I like to roll the dice, baby.
Well, and then I just took McConkey. So because who knows what's going to happen in Los Angeles.
Well, so I can tell you right now what's going to happen because Jim Harbaugh just said he has elite route running ability. We love him around here.
Yeah.
He's going off at wide receiver 42 on average. And I have him on the list to talk about because, well, who else are they throwing the ball to? Trey Palmer? And then who?
Josh Palmer.
That's what I mean. Trey Palmer.
Okay.
Yeah, Josh Palmer out there. But yeah, Josh Palmer and then who else? It's Lad McConkey right now, right?
They Coach Harbaugh. Big things.
Yeah, I was just going to say
for Quentin Johnson, right? Isn't that what was said recently?
So how much are we leading into the coach speak from Coach Harbaugh?
Big plans.
Okay, you had to
bring starter plans or
wow.
I do think that people are writing off Quentin Johnson a little much. I mean, there were 2. He did not step up when he could have, but he was still a rookie. Okay, and he's not Devontae Adams, but Devontae Adams had a terrible rookie season. So I think it's not quite fair to write him off completely just yet.
I think my biggest thing with QJ was I wasn't high on him coming out because of the way he receives the ball.
Well, and drop it a lot too.
Well, no, it was because he doesn't catch it with his hands and high point it. He tries to body catch just about everything.
Yeah.
And that allows the ball to get between your elbows. That allows the ball to come off your shoulder pads or your chest, whatever. And for whatever reason, a full year in the NFL, and that still has not changed. We've seen it even in this preseason or in this camp where he's still trying to body catch things. And that's still bothersome to me.
Big plans, though.
Big plans. He's a dog.
Maybe he said hands. Maybe he said we got big hands.
Oh, there you go.
That's what Quentin Johnson, not big plans. Maybe they're getting big mitts for him or something. Who knows?
Perfect. Help him with that catch.
Yeah, something's got to work for the guy because it is bad.
Yes, Adam, I have that on the list as well. Kamani Vidal was in uniform for warmups, but did not dress for the game. There are questions in LA if he's even going to make the 53-man roster. Chris, you kind of like this kid.
I was on the fence on the hype. I was okay drafting him with a third, fourth round pick. I was never good with taking Kamani Vidal well above his ADP. He was worth the pick just based on the situation before we knew everything that was going on in Los Angeles in your rookie drafts with a late third or early fourth. Because who else are you really taking there? You're trying to scoop up that potential value burst with these players that could be thrust into certain situations. Kamani Vidal just might not be that guy for us as dynasty managers. So we're going to have to pivot possibly away from him. Again, he could possibly be a taxi stash. He could end up on another program or another team where he could earn some offensive opportunities. Of course, I was a big Braylon Allen guy, though. Braylon Allen, QB2, looking good. I told everybody draft Braylon Allen above Kamani Vidal.
Did you just say Kamani Vidal to Dallas? Is that what you said?
Don't do Susan like that, man. She's already frustrated with the Dallas Cowboys.
I mean, it's especially because, Roman just brought his his running back room,
the whole room
from Baltimore. So like, I know they drafted them, but he brought his guys with him. They're going to get the run first. If JK is healthy, which big question mark, if JK gets healthy, who's the one there? Is it Gus or is it Dobbins? That's a big question.
I think it's a 50-50 split. 45.
Yeah, Gus will be the touchdown guy, and Dobbins will probably be the yardage guy between the two. But then at that point, which is the one that you want to roster? It's probably none.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how that shakes out.
The whole team's a mess. The whole team is just a giant disaster. Herbert's hurt. The running back room's in shambles.
No, I can't believe Herbert is hurt again.
Yeah,
Herbert is hurt again.
The tight end situation is a disaster. Wide receiver room's a disaster. Running back room is just a clog. Quarterback room we don't know what's going on. Our pets' heads are falling off. No jobs unless you want to work 40 hours a week. It's a mess over in Los Angeles. Right?
Oh my Lord. The sun shines. It never rains. It's just the horrible. There's stars everywhere.
It's crazy.
Oh my Lord. Putting up a decision right here. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Maybe a little bit above ADP here, but Javonte Williams, I still trust in him.
I don't hate it there.
Going back to the last round there, I took Calvin Ridley at 7.3. D-Hop goes at 7.6. Calvin Ridley was paid to be the wide receiver one on what's going to be, or what they thought was going to be, a revamped offense. And it's going to focus on the passing game. And Ridley had just over 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns last year. What are your thoughts on Calvin Ridley, knowing that D-Hop's going to miss probably the first 4 games, Susan?
The question mark really is Will Levis. Do you believe in Will Levis or not? You saw flashes of it last year. Do you think he takes that step forward as a second-year quarterback? I personally think he will probably even be the one over Hopkins, because I feel like he's just a little more, he's just a little. He's got the big playability that's right there. Hopkins is reliable and gets open, but if Levis wants to go for the big show, Ridley's going to be running down the field to take it. So, and now with Hopkins out, he's setting himself up to take the role and maybe keep it. If he had been there, I would have taken him.
Calvin?
Yeah. It was my turn. Okay.
Yeah, you are on the clock here. Chris, what are your thoughts on Calvin Ridley there? Let me ask you this way. Just looking at the couple players that are right around him. Calvin Ridley, Keenan Allen, which one you taking?
I'm taking Calvin Ridley. The role in the offense is him to be the wide receiver one, Calvin Ridley.
Okay. Calvin Ridley or Zay Flowers?
Calvin Ridley.
Okay. Calvin Ridley, Amari Cooper.
It's a little bit more closer for me. I'm going to go Calvin Ridley.
Okay. I asked those 4 players right there because Calvin Ridley's at wide receiver 34. Keenan Allen's at wide receiver 33. Zay Flowers is at wide receiver 26. So almost a full 10 wide receivers between the two. Amari Cooper at 27 there. So I thought those were interesting players that were right around him or even well in front of him that I think too Ridley over all of those for me as well. Susan, you disagree with any of those?
The only one that I might take, but it's hard with the ADP, would be Cooper. He and Watson started cooking last year. And so, again, as long as Watson gets healthy and plays like everybody thinks or knows that he can, Cooper is going to be, you've got him as your wide receiver 3. And he's got high-end wide receiver 2 upside, definitely. So he would be the one if I was going to go higher on ADP. But Ridley at that draft position is great.
Scamper is jumping in here talking about, speaking of Chargers weapons, he got to meet Hayden Hurst, super cool dude. Talked to him about his time in Carolina. Was informative and saddened as a Panthers fan. I'm guessing that was at the TrophySmack headquarters there for Scott Fish.
Yeah, he was there.
Yeah. The Los Angeles Live, right?
Yes. Yeah. Which those are really, really cool. Really cool pictures stuff from out there.
I went to the Dallas Live this year. I did a slow draft league, but since I live here, I was like, I'll just go hang out.
Right.
And so it was nice to get to meet people who you know online. Like, oh, here's your actual face.
Yes, got to meet all of your so-called fake friends, right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So that was pretty cool.
Well, so I just want to pipe up here to Adam real quick. Saying Daniels in the 9th is just wrong. Such a steal. You got to remember this is one quarterback, so you're going to see the quarterbacks fall a little bit more than you would in of course a super flex. So
I almost went with my second QB in that round, but I decided I wanted some more wide receiver depth.
I like the Curtis Samuel pick there. I think that's somebody that's going to get a little bit of run going back with his OC from his was it the OC or was it the GM from Carolina that is now in Buffalo, kind of just full circle there. So I like Samuel going to Buffalo, especially with, of course, Stephon Diggs moving along. A couple players I did want to bring up here, and we talked a little bit about it with Devontae Adams. Are we overvaluing him at wide receiver 15 overall? Let's see, what did he go here? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So he went at 14 here. Wide receiver 15 overall. You touched on a little bit, Susan. You think that that's a little expensive for yourself.
Yeah, because Aiden O'Connell is going to be there. How did he do with him last year? He was okay. But again, it's the same thing. You're drafting these guys at their ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
And so that just makes me too nervous to be drafting guys at their ceiling when you're going to maybe have a quarterback carousel that you're just like, ugh, who's it going to be this week? Are they going to get them? Are they going to get him the ball? So that's my worry, is just where he's going is just too rich for me.
Same question to you, Chris, but it's actually one of the guys you picked there in the third round, and that's Malik Neighbors going to the board at wide receiver 17. You got him here. It looks like at 18 or 19 wide receiver. Understanding the talent, but again, with the question marks at quarterback, being the only guy that I guess that we trust, because I'm not seeing anybody else on that team getting drafted from that wide receiver room, unless it's really, really late. Sell me on Malik Neighbors there for redraft this year with Daniel Jones in New York.
Yeah, I mean, it's just really opportunity. There's no one else there in New York for him to lose pass attempts to. I probably should have taken a player like we mentioned, DK Metcalf, DJ Moore, and possibly Devonta Smith ahead of him, just because we know the production of those three wide receivers in their respective offenses. We know what, like we talked about, with DK Metcalf could potentially give us 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns in Seattle. DJ Moore, tied to Caleb Williams, has the potential to put up another great season for us as fantasy managers. But I'm just going to be bullish on the rookie wide receiver who could walk into New York, see 140 plus targets, a good amount of yardage, and be the deep field stretcher that we know Daniel Jones can get the ball to. So I got no problem reaching up, and it is a bit of a reach here in the third round for a player like Malik Neighbors. He was electric in LSU, just the guy that helped Jaden Daniels be the field stretching quarterback that he was this past season at LSU. So I got no issues reaching up and picking a guy that is uber talented like Malik Neighbors. I kind of like the value more on Neighbors than getting Marvin Harrison early in the second. I'd probably take that all day over reaching up and take Marvin Harrison as potentially the wide receiver 10 or 12 in your draft. If I can get Malik Neighbors like I did here at the back end of the teens, I'd rather take that value over Marvin Harrison that early.
I like it. Detox got a question for you. Which of Devontae Adams, Chris Olave, or Drake London do y'all like? I'll let you go ahead with this, Susan.
Oh man, those three are being drafted right next to each other in ADP, and I just want to avoid all of them because they all have question marks. I probably will go Olave in that situation. Because we haven't gotten to see London do it yet. And I get that we've got Cousins there now, but I'd rather take at least somewhat production that you've seen as opposed to a question mark.
Chris, I believe your answer is going to be London, but go ahead.
Yeah, if I'm going to put them in an order, if it's PPR, I mean, London, and then it's a mix of Chris Olave and Devontae Adams. Chris Olave might see more yards, but Devontae Adams on the Raiders could see a hell of a lot more targets than Olave on the Saints. So they are a little bit more closer for me. They're all, like Susan said, they're all kind of in a bunch. If you're on the clock and you see all three guys sitting there, I'll probably lean with Drake London just because of the potential of the quarterback upgrade that he got in Kirk Cousins.
Fair. Just want to remind everybody, we will not go over each and every team. We will talk about the Susan's team and Chris's team. And of course, for the first time, we'll get to talk about my team, which for the most part, I'm just kind of throwing
Gator roast
on this. Yeah, you'll get the roast because I'm just throwing players on this team. You're trying to fill out the roster. But Susan just took Tyler Lockett here. So it's a great time to give you the TrophySmack. We are honored to talk about our sister site, Women of Fantasy Football's new partnership with TrophySmack. Head over to TrophySmack.com/women WOFF, and start shopping for all of your achievement-based wants and needs. Do you need a draft board? They've got it. You need belts? They've got it. Do you need championship rings? Bling, 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 bling? They got it. Use the special link, TrophySmack.com/women of fantasy, /WOFF, standing for Women of Fantasy Football. Use this unique link because this month, throughout the month of August, every commission, all commissions will be sent to GALvanize Scholarship Fund, which benefits Laura Oakman's GALvanize, an organization that offers women the tools to succeed in the sports media. You can find the link in the description as well. TrophySmack.com/WOFF. Get shopping today. That is a long read, Josh. You have to do something about that. We're going to simmer that down a little bit.
And if people want, I actually did a quick rundown about GALvanize over on the Gridiron Goddess Instagram.
Nice.
Just rather than if you don't want to go to the website and read the whole bio and the whole thing, there's a quick summary of what it is. I did for one of my featured Fridays, I talked about that. So
nice.
Just give people a quick rundown.
I like it. Chris, I just want to go back to Malik Neighbors real quick, just so you can, have this. They are in an evaluation period.
Yeah.
A little sore. Looks like he's got a twisted up ankle of some sort. Brian Daboll said he doesn't think it's fractured, but they're going to take it easy over the next couple of days.
Sure, when you're the guy with the team on your back, of course your feet are going to hurt. It's inevitable. It's inevitable. I mean, Daniel Jones has got a beard now. Malik Neighbors is going to be the wide receiver 1. There's just a lot of aura going around the New York Giants. It could be worse. It could be the New York Jets, and you could have players wanting to find their way out of there, even though they were just traded there. So they're going to give you a New York team to invest in.
Does Neighbors want to be there, though?
Yeah, well, that's
great question. Great question.
At the beginning, no, but I don't
Chris
know.
Answered the question.
No comment. No comment.
Yeah, because I don't know that he does either.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. I mean, he got his quarterback's name wrong when he first came to New York, so
maybe on purpose.
Yeah, maybe on purpose.
It's a power move.
Yeah, maybe Daniel Jones is the bearded Daniel Jones. Maybe he's going with a new look.
There you go.
But is he trying to remember was it last year, year before last? Remember Eli Manning going back to Penn State all dressed up? Do you remember the little skit that they did there? Maybe that's what it was. Daniel Jones.
Is Joe Burrow's new look gonna give him like superpowers too? Is that gonna
here's an interesting stat, and I don't remember exactly who put this out there to start with, but I know our very own and Women of Fantasy Football, Faith, put this out there or redid it or retweeted it, and Joe Burrow with his Slim Shady look. You realize?
College.
Do you realize he's thrown for exactly 8 miles?
What?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
That's a dad joke.
That is a terrific stat bull.
No. If 8 miles is like 14,000 and change yards.
And the total for his college career too, or just NFL?
Just the NFL, I guess. But it was like 14,080 yards is what he's thrown for. It was like right at 8 miles. It was I was like, holy crap, that's crazy. I had to go back and look and make sure that nobody like screenshotted, or photoshopped the numbers, and it sure as shit it's 14,000. I'm like, God, that's crazy, super crazy number.
That's funny.
As he comes out in his Slim Shady cut,
that's hilarious.
Okay, so Justin Herbert has now fallen, and I think I'm just gonna have to do it because I know he's injured. But he's my QB2, so I have time for him to sit on the bench. And I think that people, I mean, the injury now that like totally puts a wrench in it, but I think that a lot of people have written him off for reasons that are not great. They're still going to have to throw the ball. I think that they're going to get him running more. And him this late, I think is the upside is too good to pass up there.
Yeah.
What do y'all think about that?
I love the pick, especially when you have a high volatile quarterback like Anthony Richardson tying him to a player like Justin Herbert. We know Justin Herbert can produce. We've seen him produce high output of production, both passing and with his feet. And we've seen the history of both Greg Roman and Coach Harbaugh when they're together and what their quarterbacks have been able to do on the ground. So, I mean, I love the value that you got at Justin Herbert there and the value that I've been able to get Justin Herbert at all year. So I love the pick.
Yeah, I think that's the exact same reason for me going right here and getting Matthew Stafford, who's just fallen down the board, which is absolutely ridiculous.
But Matthew Stafford don't run, man.
You don't need to run when he's throwing the ball for 7,000 yards. It doesn't matter. You're taking his top two receivers and his running back in the first 3 rounds.
Yeah. Do you think you end up starting Matthew Stafford more games than Tua Tagovailoa?
Who knows? Because both of them could throw for, absurd numbers this year. When you look at what Miami didn't upgrade the defense at all, they're just going to be throwing the ball all over the place. Mike McDaniel's got these crazy braining, these plays. They're just going to be chucking the ball all over the field. And then you've got Matthew Stafford out there in LA in the sunshine with his Ray-Bans on, sitting there going, hey, go ahead and get both of my guys. Get Puka and Cooper Kupp. Put them on your fantasy teams because I'm chucking the ball everywhere. That's what Matthew Stafford said on Insiders the other day. So I'm going to trust.
And their defense got worse.
And their defense got worse. They're going to be on the field a ton.
Yeah, I agree. And it's just they both got great weapons. Tua's got Waddle and Hill, and then Stafford's got Kupp and Nakua. Tua's never thrown for over 30 touchdowns, which kind of a little bit of an alarming stat for a quarterback that some are projecting to be in the top 12, top 10 of fantasy producing quarterbacks. He does have the yardage, so if he can get up to that threshold where he's throwing, 32 to 33 touchdowns, I think you'll end up starting Tua more than you will start Stafford. But this season, I think you might end up starting Stafford more than you will Tua.
I think it was either last week or the week prior on the Wednesday night, no pun intended show. It was either Josh or Ryan brought up the stat that if Tua had 4 more touchdown passes last year, it would have moved him all the way up to QB4.
Yeah, that's the thing. He had 29 touchdown passes. So if he gets to that 33, 32 mark with the yards that he has in the passing game, because last year, 4,600 passing yards, he did have the 14 interceptions, which hurts a little when it comes to accumulating fantasy points. But if he can break that threshold and get up to that, upper echelon of quarterbacks that are hitting that 33 to 35 passing touchdown mark, Tua, you will obviously end up starting Tua more than you will start Stafford at that point. But if he struggles with the touchdown production, go ahead.
Oh, I was saying, and I think Waddle being healthy will help that because when Waddle's not on the field, they can focus on Tyreek. So if they can get both of those guys healthy and going every single time, he's going to have somebody open to get the ball to. And so Waddle being on and off the field, I think really affected that for Tua last season.
Yeah, the other addition, which is kind of crazy that now they have a tight end that can catch the ball. Jonnu Smith is there as well. So another amazing catch in practice again today for him. Although
they got OBJ. They got OBJ too. I don't know how many games OBJ factors in, but
he's on the pup. So let's we can't add him right yet. But he does. I do need Smith to change his Twitter handle because he's no longer an 81. He's now 8. So we got to get rid of the one on his Twitter handle. So I knew who the hell he's talking about. I want to talk about a couple players
last year.
What was that, Susan?
He was the bane of every Pitts manager's existence last year.
Yeah, him and Arthur Smith. I'm surprised he didn't end up in Pittsburgh and just ruin everybody else's, Pat Freiermuth and everybody else. So,
yeah,
couple deeper options. Tight end 29, Theo Johnson, New York Giants. Coach Daboll showing him Gronk clips for inspiration, and he's getting a bunch of first team reps. Thoughts on Theo Johnson? I know how much you like that New York team there, Chris.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's the New York Giants passing offense as a whole. Coach Daboll might like Johnson, but at the end of the day, as a fantasy manager, what value does the starting tight end for the New York Giants hold for you? We've seen Daniel Bellinger have some okay games. We've seen, Darren Waller had some okay games when he was available for the Giants, when he was suited up, but it's nothing that screams potential for a week winning tight end. So I'm just going to try to stay away from anyone from the New York Giants offense that isn't Malik Neighbors or Devin Singletary at this point.
Not buying the Tyrone Tracy hype?
No, not me. Not buying the Tyrone Tracy hype, no. I can keep my money in my pocket for that one. He's got the potential to earn some snaps in that backfield, but as a dynasty manager, I'll probably stash Tyrone Tracy. But as a redraft target,
your taxi.
He's undraftable.
Jafar asking, Travis Etienne was drafted RB7 tonight. Is that too high? I don't even want to ask Chris this question because, Chris is the one that drafted him, so that's definitely not too high for Chris. Susan, is RB7 for Travis Etienne too high?
I don't think so, because he's going to be one of the only workhorse backs. He's pulling. They're talking about his backup, which is totally escaping my brain right now.
Tank.
Yes, Tank Bigsby. And there's been so much will he, won't he, with the Tank Bigsby news this offseason. I just don't think they want him to have somebody to spell him, and I just don't think it's going to happen. So he's going to have to be that workhorse back. And when you saw that, he produced. So I don't think that's too high.
I think I'm right there with you. I think that's right on par with where he should be. He's got the receiving chops. It's going to be a good situation for Travis Etienne there in Jacksonville. I'm just noticing that Vince has decided that he's going to rate each of our drafts. Susan putting together a very solid A-graded draft. Chris also gets an And
an A.
Here's your host for you, a B-. Not even
for a guy that doesn't draft with us all the time, Gator. B- is pretty good, man.
Well, you would think because I'm sitting here watching everybody else draft, I would be able to do this and be better. But it's cool. It's cool. Gator rocking B- is a few times. Yes. So Joel and I did a best ball draft last night and is a 20-second clock, and I got autoed twice. Both times were quarterbacks. So my quarterbacks ended with 4 quarterbacks. And I blew away the field. You know how they do the projections on Underdog? I was at 3,300. The next closest person was at 2,800. I'm like, well, damn, I just won this. It's done. It's over. It's I hate those projections, but people live the worst. So they are absolutely the worst. So I'm just throwing the team together here, making it up as I go. But I like the way I built it, so we'll go with that. I almost left this guy for Chris. So if you don't want to speak on him, Susan, you are perfectly fine. But I did want to put him up. Jordan Whittington, wide receiver from the Rams, going off at wide receiver 98. On Sunday, he led the Rams with 6 receptions, 74 yards. and Sean McVay says Jordan Whittington is going to be a factor this year. Just another Rams wide receiver.
Yeah. It was, and if you follow Renee Freak NFL, which you should be,
yes,
she had an interview down at the Combine with rookie wide receiver Rome Odunze, and she asked him to pick a sleeper wide receiver out of the class, and his pick was Jordan Whittington, and you can see the production that he was able to do in his first preseason game. Again, at this point, if you want to take a chance on a flyer at the back end of your home league drafts, I don't hate it. He's probably going to be a guy that you're going to be dropping week 1, week 2 when it comes down to it. Dynasty leagues, he's going to be a great stash for you if the potential for production comes his way. He does have, of course, Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp in front of him. Puka Nacua is starting to deal with some injuries. Demarcus Robinson is there as well. We saw Demarcus Robinson come on a little bit last year with his role in that offense. So again, as a redraft target, you're probably going to want to stay away unless you're shooting your shot as a late round flyer. But as a dynasty target, he's definitely someone you're going to want to potentially stash, because even at Texas, you saw the possibility of what he could do as a wide receiver. They put him all over the field, and now you're seeing that translate to the NFL. So Jordan Whittington, dynasty stash, redraft, just another one of those untouchable rookies.
Yeah, unless your bench is like super, super deep. But
yeah, exactly.
Going back to one of the settings about redraft leagues is a short bench for redraft leagues is something that I really like, because it keeps the waiver wire interesting. So if you're, I played in one league, we only had 4 bench spots.
Mm-hmm.
You got one IR and 4 bench spots, and it was like, dang, like you're really having to decide who you're keeping, and it made it more interesting, and it made the waiver wire better for that.
Sure.
So
yeah, I like the thought process there when you're, especially for a redraft, having that shorter bench. Scampers in the chat making me feel better about the B- score that I received. He says he's always mocking an A or C-. So I appreciate you helping me out there, Scampers. Susan, let's talk about your team in particular here. Breece Hall, Derrick Henry, Mark Andrews, DJ Moore, Anthony Richardson, Christian Kirk, Ladd McConkey, Zach Moss, Curtis Samuel, Jerome Ford, Tyler Lockett, Justin Herbert, Dalton Schultz, Darnell Mooney there. I like the Darnell Mooney late stab there. Don't know how much run he's going to get, but again, it's your last pick in this draft. Somebody that may be your first cut if somebody else is popping off and you're on that short bench with a waiver wire here. But talk about your team with the way you built this.
So going running back, tight end. Like I said earlier, this is the first time I've done something like that. It makes me nervous. I'm not super happy with my wide receiver core. I'd like to at least have like one, like very clearly is going to be the alpha guy in my wide receiver core. I don't know if DJ Moore or Keenan Allen is going to get more targets. I mean, DJ Moore is the guy who should be the number one, but Keenan Allen just somehow knows how to be open. And so for a rookie quarterback, the reliability of like, oh, there he is, he's open, he's going to be there, let me get him the ball. So I'm a little worried about having DJ Moore as my wide receiver 1. But for the depth, I'm happy with the depth, but I think having a different wide receiver 1 might be better. But I like it. I think I could roll with this.
Yeah, when I'm looking at your team, I think that would be my question as well, the DJ Moore. He got hyper-targeted last year, but of course there was nobody else to throw the ball to. Now you got Caleb coming in there. They reloaded that whole room, added DeAndre Swift out of the backfield, so is he going to get all the targets that he received last year? How much, dispersal is there going to be of targets?
and Rome, who's
and
there.
then you add Roma
So-
Dunte in there, who's probably going to come on later in the year. So yeah, it's going to be. I think I'm right there with you with DJ Moore. I don't know that I would love that being my first one, but when you add him to a Christian Kirk, who is going to be the wide receiver one on his team, there's yeah, it's not horrible. It's not horrible. It could be, as Chris likes to tell me all the time, it could be worse.
Yeah.
Could always
So
be worse, man.
It could definitely. I definitely can roll with it.
Yeah.
Chris, let's look at yours. Justin Jefferson, Travis Etienne, Malik Neighbors, Josh Jacobs, DeAndre Swift, T. Higgins, JSN, Zamir White, Jaden Daniels, Josh Palmer, Demario Douglas, Greg Dortch, Chuba Hubbard, and Braylon Allen.
Yeah, no tight end from the waiver wire.
Exactly. I got to the point there where I was just like, I don't really love any of the options here. I'd much rather chase some upside with one of these other positional players than pick a tight end that I don't necessarily like. So he's
a Saints fan, Susan. He's a Saints fan, so he'll use his quarterback as his tight end.
Could always pick up Taysom Hill off the waivers.
Perfect. He's always there. He's always there.
So if I could pick up maybe a guy that maybe gets a little bit of a run, stream the position early in the season, and hopefully hitch my team to a tight end that kind of finds a role onto a team, that's going to be the strategy for me if I'm not
Colby Parkinson, something like that.
Yes, somebody's going to hit at some point. We're going to get somebody that comes out and shows what he can do on an offense, maybe finds a role with a wide receiver 2 going down, then that tight end is the second target on his potential offense. So, I mean, I'm usually a top of the draft tight end drafter, try to find one of the elite guys to give me that positional advantage because there's only so few of them that are going to see a hyper amount of targets. But at this point, I wanted to try something different, so I just pushed the tight end completely out of the draft for me.
Yeah. I like your build, though. I like your build. You know, it was very, very balanced when it comes to the wide receiver and running back room. Adding Jaden Daniels, I'm kind of like what you said earlier about Anthony Richardson. You throw Jaden Daniels in there, and then what would you be doing? What would you be looking for in your second quarterback? Would you be looking for a Geno Smith, that solid floor?
Yeah. If I'm looking for potential to either play a matchup or, I mean, if I have Jaden Daniels, I'm most likely just going to be covering a bye week at that point. Right. I'm going to be looking for someone with a safe floor. And if I'm looking to cover a bye week, I'm looking a week ahead. So if Jaden Daniels' bye week is in week 7, week 6, week 5, I'm looking for that potential replacement for Jaden Daniels a couple weeks down the road. So the other managers are kind of left playing the waivers weekly, where I'm playing the waivers, a couple weeks in advance to set myself up to potentially get a stud QB for that week. So, I mean, looking at the board, a lot of QBs are already gone, but I mean, potentially there's a couple guys, Geno Smith out there, Derek Carr is still on the board. Not that I really overly love having to start a player like Derek Carr, but if the matchup's right, Derek Carr could potentially give you a back end QB 1 week, a mid QB 2 week, if you catch him in the right spot. So that's pretty much how I would approach it, just drafting Jaden Daniels.
Yeah,
you would take. Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say, go get your guy, go get Daniel Jones, and just call it done, and then you'll be happy.
A 1 week spot start. I mean, I got no problem starting some of these guys.
Would you take Carr over Baker?
No.
No, not for a 1 week spot start.
I was gonna say, because Baker's on the board here.
Yeah, I think
he wasn't taken.
Yeah.
Okay.
As much as I am a Saints fan, when it comes to fantasy, I'd like to just try to keep my biases, muted a little bit. As much as I dislike Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, fantasy wise, I think he's a better option than Derek Carr. Yeah. So yeah,
I agree.
If Baker's on the waivers, Geno's on the waivers, give me those guys to cover a spot start.
Susan, you and I are just getting hammered in the chat right now.
I know.
Yeah, the DJ Moore, like question marks are just, Vince, no one should ever doubt Denniston Oliver Moore Jr. Josh piping in. The DJ Moore slander is unnecessary. He is a club fantasy favorite, so apologies are in order. Vince piping back in. Thank you. Hearing that means a lot. I mean, it's
no slander, just questions.
You're allowed to ask questions.
No slander, I promise.
Let's look at my team real quick. CMC, Sam Laporta, Jalen Waddle, Stephon Diggs, Amari Cooper, Xavier Worthy, Calvin Ridley, Javonte Williams, Tua Tagovailoa, Cole Kmet, Jalen Wright, Matthew Stafford, the auto pick of Mike Williams, and then Marshawn Lloyd. I'll start with you, Susan. Where did I go wrong? How did I end up with a B-?
My worry for your roster is Stephon Diggs as your wide receiver 2. I personally believe he's going to end up as the wide receiver 3 on his team. So having him to be drafted that high makes me nervous. But other than that, I think it's pretty all right.
You don't have to be friendly, Susan. You can tell him his team sucks. You don't have to be friendly. I mean, he's going to be playing running back roulette for the first half of the season.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
Start as his RB2.
Especially Marshawn Lloyd is now injured, and they're already talking about how he's like not what we're thinking. He's not necessarily what everybody thought he was. So I probably would have gone a different direction with your running backs and not drafted Diggs as my second wide receiver.
Well, I didn't feel good right here going Kamani Vidal, so I had to get somebody else, right?
I mean, going hero RB. I mean, you got the one to do it with.
Yeah, you got it. Getting him in the third, getting Christian McCaffrey from the third,
right?
That's pretty good.
Yeah. I think the Laporta pick is, like Susan mentioned at the beginning of the show, maybe a bit rich, but your reasoning behind it with the PPR and the potential volume that he's going to see, or that we know that he's going to see in Detroit. I mean, I don't hate the pick that much.
Okay, so let me just explain real quick, and I'll make this brief because I know we got to get out of here. But Sam Laporta, and I made the case for it, whether I believe it or not, that's the case I made. But that's because of Susan. That is because of Susan. She put me on tilt in the second round by going
with the snipe. The panic pick. You had a panic picking early.
I was panic picking. Guys, if you have not already, hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the bell, let you know when we go live on any one of our shows. And boy, oh boy, are there a pile of them. Monday night is Mocking with the Stars, 10 o'clock. That is me and Chris Battistell, and we always have a star with us. Tuesday night, Masterclass, one of the best ball shows that we have at 8:30. This week, we are doing the Millie Maker. That is me and Stacey Perez. Next week, we are doing an FFPC 125. That will be coming out over this week to let you know if you want to join us, what draft to go to. Wednesdays have been taken over by the Women of Fantasy Football, the WOFF podcast at 7 p.m. This week's guest is Miss Drew Jones, and there is a jersey giveaway yet again.
Nice.
2 of them to be, in fact. Bijan Robinson, Marshall Faulk. If you have not already bought your tickets, they are $5 per ticket. Unlimited amount that you can buy. Go over to the Women of Fantasy Football's Twitter page. Go over to Club Fantasy's Twitter page. Scroll in there, and you will find the link for those giveaways to register for those. Also on Wednesday night, no pun intended. The flagship show has moved to 9 o'clock for the next couple of weeks. Thursday, trade blocked at 8. Thursday night as well as Mock Girl Summer, another one of the mock shows that we have here at 10 p.m. Friday, Mock It Like It's Hot at 8 p.m. Saturday, Summer School, the other best ball show at 11 a.m. Sunday is Dynasty After Party at 11 as well. Big thank you to all the viewers and listeners tonight. Make sure, again, you hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe. Susan, let our viewers and our listeners know where they can find you and what you are working on this preseason.
All right, so Instagram is where I do my content. I know that Twitter. Oh, no, sorry, X. I'm never going to get used to that.
It's Twitter. It's Twitter.
Yeah, I know that that's where a lot of fantasy football is. Most of my audience is over on Instagram because I'm aiming for new players, female players who are learning, commonly the Taylor Swift cater crowd. So we don't just do fantasy content. We also do NFL content, just kind of teaching people the game too. We have a website where we've got some merch here. Fantasy football t-shirts, customizable NFL t-shirts that you can get for your team, put a name and number on the back, stuff like that. So that's thegridirongoddess.com, but content is over on Instagram at gridiron_goddess.
Phenomenal. Nice. Before you go and let everybody know what you got going on, Chris, I just want you to know that I know you need to be tuning in on Wednesday night because Renee, NFL Freak, will be on as well with the WOFF podcast. So what do you got going on and where can they find you?
Me at FF Chris B on X every Monday night on Fantasy and Frames, 1 Foot Down podcast, which is a college fantasy football show. And then every Monday nights, 10 p.m. We only got a few more left, unfortunately, Gator. Our time is close to an end, man, and I'm not happy about it. But 10 p.m. Monday nights here at Club Fantasy, Club FFL, Mocking with the Stars. We got a big one next week. Don't
big. Yes, we're going over to the college football, fantasy football ranks here. You, me, and we're bringing in one of our good buddies.
Yes, sir.
So we're going to be bringing in Brandon Hay, and going to do some college football draft next week. So get ready for that. I'm super stoked for that. I'm as big of a college football fan as I am. I don't play college fantasy football, and I know that. As Chris has on his tagline there, play college fantasy. He's just not beat it into my head yet. I haven't done it. But we're going to start it next week.
We're getting you there.
We're going next week.
I don't know how you have time to do both.
Oh, college and NFL.
Yes.
I got to burn the candle at both ends.
He's Canadian. I'm telling you, he's Canadian. That's the thing.
Yeah. We don't sleep
okay, there you go.
They don't sleep. Over again, if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button for us. We are on our way to 2K. Appreciate everybody. If you make sure you're checking out all of our shows, make sure you check out clubfantasyffl.com for all of our written work. Oh my, what a show. Appreciate both of you guys tonight. We'll see y'all next week.